You played this game. Everyone did. Millions of copies, millions of players, front page of every gaming site on the internet. And you haven't thought about it in years. 10 games. Combined, they sold over 400 million copies, made billions of dollars. And right now, you can't remember the last time someone mentioned a single one. These aren't bad games. Most of them were great. Some of them were Game of the Year contenders. A few of them literally broke sales records. They had the streamers. They had the hype. They had the player counts. They had everything you need to last. And then, they just stopped mattering. Not because they got worse, because something else got louder. This is the list nobody asked for. 10 games that ran the internet, and then just vanished from the conversation like they never existed. But the number one game on this list? It vanished so fast, people forget it was ever made.
Number 10.
The makers of Left 4 Dead, that one sitting sold millions of copies. Back 4 Blood launched in October 2021 with 10 million registered players, peaked at 66,000 on Steam. It was the best new selling IP of the year. Within 2 months, Left 4 Dead 2, a game from 2009, had more players. A 12-year-old game was beating its own sequel in real time. Today, around 600 people are playing on Steam. Not 6,000, 600. The promise of Left 4 Dead got people back in the door, but the card system, the bugs, and the lack of a campaign pushed them right back out, and they went straight back to the game B4B was supposed to replace.
Number 9.
The Division made $330 million in 5 days. Biggest first week for a new IP in gaming history. It outsold Destiny, it outsold Watch Dogs, it outsold everything. It sold 20 million copies in its lifetime. The Dark Zone was all anyone could talk about. It's a lawless PvP area where you could betray your teammates. It was tense, it was addicting, and it was broken. Hackers, exploits, bullet sponge enemies, loot that felt meaningless. By month 3, the player base had dropped 93%. Ubisoft tried to save it with an expansion. They made a sequel. The Division 2 launched. It sold well and vanished even faster. 2 games, $330 million launch, 20 million copies sold. And right now, if you ask your room of gamers to name a Ubisoft franchise, Division wouldn't even make the top 5.
Number 8.
Halo meets Portal, and that was the pitch. 2 college kids at Stanford built it as a school project. In summer 2021, the game broke. Not because it was bad, because too many people had showed up. 600,000 downloads in a week. The servers couldn't handle 65,000 players at once. They had 4 engineers. $116 million in funding followed, and had a $1.5 billion valuation. The next big arena shooter. Then they killed it. Shut down the original to make Splitgate 2. The sequel launched in 2025, lost 93% of its players in a week, got pulled back into beta, and had more layoffs. The original servers got turned off. From 1.5 billion valuation to please give us one more chance in 4 years.
Number 7.
Before PUBG, before Fortnite, before Battle Royale was even a genre anyone could name, there was H1Z1. King of the Hill was the Battle Royale. The streamers played it. The tournaments ran on it. It was the blueprint. Then PUBG came out, and H1Z1 went from king to footnote overnight. By the time Fortnite showed up, H1Z1 was already forgotten. Twice replaced, twice erased. It went free to play in 2018. Tried a PS4 launch. Nothing worked. Then the servers shut down. The game that invented an entire genre couldn't survive the genre it created. But this next game, it didn't just die. It took an entire genre's reputation with it.
Number 6.
In 2016, every single person in your school had this on their phone. Teachers were confiscating devices over it. Group chats were in war rooms. clan drama felt personal. Clash Royale was printing money, over $1 billion in its first year. Supercell became the most profitable company per employee in the world. But mobile games have a shelf life that console games don't. The meta got stale, the pay-to-win complaints got louder, new mobile games showed up every month. Clash Royale didn't die like others on this list, it just faded. Nobody quit in protest, nobody was angry. They just stopped opening the app one day and never went back.
Number 5.
Destiny was supposed to be a 10-year journey. Bungie's next Halo, a $500 million investment. The most expensive game ever made at the time. And honestly, it kinda delivered. Destiny 1 had problems, but the gunplay was the best in the industry. The raids were legendary. Vault of Glass, King's Fall, these were moments that defined co-op gaming. Destiny 2 launched. It was a rocky start, but Forsaken brought everyone back. And then Bungie started removing content, entire campaigns, planets, strikes, stuff people paid for, gone. And they called it vaulting. Players called it something else. The final shape launched in 2024. Critics loved it. Players said it was the best Destiny had ever been. And it still wasn't enough. Bungie laid off hundreds, the live service model was bleeding money, Sony bought them for $3.6 billion and watched the investment shrink. Destiny didn't fail because the games were bad, it failed because it asked players to trust a 10-year promise and then broke that promise one vault at a time.
Number 4.
PUBG may not have invented Battle Royale, but PUBG made it a genre. 75 million copies sold, the fastest selling game in history at the time. In early 2018, PUBG was the most watched game on Twitch, the most played game on Steam, the most talked about game in the world. It was bigger than anything. And then Fortnite went free, and Apex dropped out of nowhere. Warzone took the military shooter crowd, and PUBG became the game that Battle Royale forgot. It went free to play in 2022. It still has players and it still runs. But the game that invented the biggest genre of the last decade is now the 5th or 6th name you'll think when someone says Battle Royale. That's not death. That's something worse. It's irrelevance. But the next game, it didn't just lose players, it broke promises.
Number 3.
Overwatch didn't just launch big, it launched as a movement. 50 million players in its first year, Game of the Year, an esports league with city-based teams and $20 million buy-ins. The characters were everywhere. Tracer was on the cover of magazines. D.Va was a meme. The fan art community was bigger than most games' entire player bases. Blizzard had lightning in a bottle, and then they smashed the bottle. Overwatch 2 was supposed to be the next step. PvE campaigns, new heroes, a reason to come back. Instead, they canceled the PvE, made it free to play, replaced the original game entirely. You couldn't even own OW1 anymore, and slapped a battle pass on it. The esports league folded and the viewership collapsed. The community that loved Overwatch didn't leave because they found something better. They left because Blizzard took away what they already had. 50 million players to a punchline, and everyone saw it coming except the people making the decisions.
Number 2.
Summer of 2016, there were 232 million monthly players. No, that's not a typo. 232 million in 1 month. 508 million downloads in this first quarter. 45 million daily players in the US alone. Parks full of people at 2 a.m. Strangers talking to strangers. Car accidents happen, trespassing arrests, and national news. Nothing in gaming, maybe nothing in entertainment, had ever moved that many people that fast. For about 8 weeks, Pokemon Go wasn't a game, it was a cultural event. By December 2016, it had lost 80% of its player base, from 232 million to under 50 million in 5 months. And there's the thing people miss. Pokemon Go still makes money, roughly 500 million a year. Still has around 80 million monthly players. By any normal standard, that's a massive success. But nobody calls it a success because nobody measures Pokemon Go against normal games. They measure that against that summer, against 232 million, against the feeling of being outside with everyone you know, and all playing the same thing at the same time. And against that, everything else feels like a failure.
Number 1.
August 2020, lockdown summer, the world needed something stupid and fun, and Fall Guys showed up at exactly the right moment. 8.2 million copies on PC in its first month, and $185 million in revenue. Biggest PC launch since Overwatch, and the most downloaded PS Plus game of all time. Every streamer played it, every group chat was talking about it. The little bean guys were everywhere. Memes, merch, brand deals, Fall Guys was escapable. And then September came, and Among Us happened, and Fall Guys lost 46% of its player base in a single month. Not to a competitor in the same genre, to a completely different kind of game. The internet just moved on. They tried everything, new seasons, new levels. They went free to play in 2022, got 20 million downloads in 48 hours, and lost them again just as fast. Today, around 600 concurrent players on Steam. Sound familiar? Same number as Back 4 Blood. Same number as a game that nobody on this list would want to be compared to. Fall Guys didn't slowly fade. It didn't make bad decisions. It didn't break promises. It just had its moment, and the moment ended. And that's the cruelest way to go. Not with anger, not with betrayal, just with a shrug. 10 games, 400 million copies, billions of dollars, and the same story every time. They didn't fail, they didn't die, they became a moment instead of a habit. And the internet doesn't remember moments, it replaces them. The next big thing is always coming, and the last big thing is always leaving. So if there's a game you love right now, play it, talk about it, because one day, you'll be the only one who remembers it was ever there.